We will start exactly at 12. Good morning, everyone. And we are exactly 12 o'clock. A very warm welcome to everyone. And before I invite our guests for the day, so let me first of all give a few hygiene factors that please keep yourself muted and please feel free to be on the video, not a problem, but keep your cameras kind of steady so that it's not moving, because that kind of becomes little distraction on the screen. So very happy to know that we are almost 50 people exactly at 12 o'clock. That is a lot of people being very disciplined. So that is very nice and very encouraging to see. So, good morning once again, all of you. We are recording this episode, and also this is going live on Annie's Facebook. So, if people cannot come here, they can see on the Facebook also, and it will be there. So, I'm very proud and extremely happy that we are starting this journey. This is the first episode of series of interactions on patient safety. So this is January, and we will continue this from January till December. And hopefully, around these same topics, we should have something exciting at the end of the year. So, not yet decided, but yes, we will have something, and all the recordings will be available. So, no worries if somebody is going to miss it today, they can always go back and look at either the Facebook, and all the episodes will be uploaded on the YouTube. So, having said that, it gives me extreme pleasure and honor to be with two veterans of nursing in the country. It just happens that one is from south and one is from north, and it is extremely happy. So, without any delay, let me first welcome Madam Dr. Professor Bimla Kapoor. I don't think that, ma'am needs any introduction. Most of you here would have known her in some form or the other, either as a teacher, guide, or I'm very sure that you must have met her in the ministry or somewhere, very sure. So I'm very proud that I'm actually sitting here with Dr. Bimla Kapoor and Major General Elizabeth John. I mean, two people that I really look up to and I respect. So give me a minute to first introduce Dr. Bimla Kapoor. And ma'am has only 50 years of experience in nursing. I said 50. I did not say 15. It is 50 years of experience. And I have known her now for quite some time since I came to Delhi. And ma'am is a very strong voice in nursing, and we are very proud that she is also our executive committee member, Association of Nurse Executives India's EC member as well, and she gets called upon many ministry related activities. And if I start to read her CV, I think it will take me another half an hour. I can only say that without reading anything, we are going to listen to her and we are going to deliberate. This is our opening session of the patient series. So there is no particular topic that we are going to get into. So I hope that every month all of you will come back and be with us. So, ma'am, Dr. Kapoor, Dr. Bimla Kapoor, a very warm welcome to the show. You are our own, but extremely proud that you are here. And thank you very much for taking the time. And next, very honored and privileged to be inviting Major General Elizabeth John, who was additional DGMNS, very powerful position. And I was lucky to meet her once in her office in her all glory. And I always feel that, why didn't I get that opportunity to be a military nurse? I always think about it. But anyway, very happy to be associated with you, ma'am. And she also needs no introduction, because I know that when we had the Kerala launch, how your military nurses were really revering you. A lot of students and your ex-army nurses, they were all there. So I am very proud that I am sitting with very esteemed two very senior nurse leaders of the country. Ma'am John, a very warm welcome to the show, and thank you very much for taking time and coming to this show. So, before I start engaging our esteemed two panelists into some conversations about patient safety, I will be playing a short video to set the context for this today's discussion. We are starting a journey on patient safety, and that is very close to nurses. And I don't think that anybody else can champion that cause better than a nurse. This is my belief, and this is what I lived for. And today also, I tell the same things. Nobody else can be the advocate or the safety champion of a patient than a nurse who is with them all the time. So, with that, allow me to play this short video to set the context. And during the discussions, if any questions come to you, please start putting it in the chat box because we will not stop in between. And hopefully, towards the end of the session, we will get a couple of minutes to answer those questions. So, please feel free to do that. So, just give me a minute. Let me pull up the video. I'll just confirm. Are you able to see the video?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in between, I am also expected to admit people. So,
Yes, ma'am.
so friends, that's the story of US. 275 people dying every day because of medical error. WHO says that 1 in 25 patients will be harmed globally when they enter a healthcare. And we really don't have statistics in India to say that how much harm the Indian healthcare is providing to our patients. We don't know. We can only guess. If US has these kind of numbers, how much more can that be in developing countries? But yes, WHO's count says that 1 in 300 patient can die because of a medical error. And medical error includes all kinds of error, and we know that we as nurses we play a very major role in the safety of the patients. Now, having said that, when I show this video to anyone, any nurse in India, everybody becomes very thoughtful, very serious. You know, they keep thinking, "Oh my God, this is shocking. Would I like to be one of that 1 in 300? Would I like my loved one to be one of those 1 in 300, 1 in 25?" And we all have our own stories of great stories and not so great stories also. Patient harm stories are with us. And we are not here to say what is not right. We are going to think about what can be done right and what needs to be done. Now, to set that tune for the entire year for us, so I'm going to invite both our senior panelists into the initial deliberation. So I'm going to ask one question to both of them, and first I will ask Dr. Kapoor to answer, followed by Madam Joan. So, ma'ams, your initial thoughts on patient safety, how has it changed over time? I mean, you both have spent a considerable amount of time in healthcare and in nursing. So, what do you think about patient safety? Ma'am Kapoor.
Thank you, Tangam. I think as a young teacher in RK College of Nursing and as a student, we were always told a term which is now being echoed quite a lot, that is do no harm to patient. Now, do no harm to patient was a statement which was made by our teachers, and we made to the students also the same statement, and then elaborating it in our classes. So the changes, if you look at whether it is a primary care or tertiary care, the as you said very rightly, the statistics are not available, but the patient harm is being done quite a lot, not deliberately, not intentionally, but because the consciousness is not there of people while working, which leads to these kind of harms which seem to be unknown to us, because we thought no, we did all well for the patient who was admitted in our ward, because we find the patient is there for a very long time in the hospital, should have been discharged after 3 to 4 days of surgery. We also find that the repeated admissions are there of the patient who has come to the hospital and gone back and keeps coming with infection, with fever, with other problems. There is, inadequate communication in terms of what kind of medicine the patient was supposed to take and what error the patient made at home, what side effects were there. Uh, Also, you'll find the EHR is not, EHR related issues are also very much highlighted. We find that there is lack of adequate assessment of the patient in terms of knowing when we are relieving the patient from the ward that what she or he should know so that the errors are reduced. Things are changing quite a lot because of the pressure of work. Probably this is what I have seen over the years.
Sorry. Thank you so much, ma'am. You used the term that, do no harm. In 1999, Institute of Medicine released the first report called To Err is Human.
Yes.
And it's a very fantastic document. And I think after 5 years, there was another report that they followed. But the numbers have not changed greatly when it comes to the number of harm that healthcare is doing to patients. So across the world, there is a movement on patient safety. And I think we are the best champions to even start that movement for patient safety. So, ma'am John, now you have spent all your time in military nursing. So I would like to, pick on you to tell us that what have you seen change over this 40 years in your career that, regarding patient safety? Ma'am, you are muted.
Thank you, Tangam, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first thank the organizers for inviting me on this, the maiden platform. We are the opening batsmen, and we hope that at the end of the year, you'll have a huge score. And in terms of outcome measure, you will have a lot of nurses who have gained from the series of lectures. So let me congratulate the Annie for taking this very important topic to deliberate in the 12 months during the Empower Hour. Well, I joined nursing as a young 17-year-old way back in 1975, and that also in the military setup. And in the army, we have systems in place. But yet, in those very early part of my training, I witnessed the first error. A surgeon who had performed a nephrectomy and the renal artery during the surgery. He was a very, very skillful and an excellent urologist. But during the surgery, the clamp on the renal artery slipped, and you can imagine what that sight would have been. And the whole abdomen was flooded with blood, because we learned, even though we were young students, we learned, I remember that doctor's name so distinctly. And what he never intended, such accidents do happen. So what exactly was patient safety? Those days, what errors occurred were basically related to the operation theater. So mostly anesthesia related, surgery related, and medication errors. I'm talking about 1975 to 79. Then later on in the 80s, I have also experienced in my own family, my grandfather succumbing to overdose of anesthesia for a fracture of the neck of femur. So patient safety dealt with these areas. So what is actually patient safety, and was it there always? Yes, as early as the 4th century, where the Greek 4th century BC, the Greek healers drafted the Hippocrates Oath. In fact, it was Hippocrates who first talked about patient safety. He recognized the potential for injuries that arise from the well-known intentioned action of the healer. He didn't intend to harm, but then during the course of his practice, some amount of harm. So it was recognized as early as that, which led to the formation of the Hippocrates Oath. And in that Hippocrates Oath, they pledged to prescribe regimens for the good of my patient according to my ability, my judgment, and never do harm to anyone. Since then, the directive primum non nocere, meaning first do no harm, has become a central tenet for medical as well as nursing practice. And as Tangam said, way back in 1982, the ABC television in the US, they programmed a program by the name The Deep Sleep, which brought out that every year 6,000 Americans die or suffer from brain damage due to anesthesia mishaps. This is as early as 1982. And then, as Tangam said, that in 1999, the IOM, Institute of Medicine in the US, which is a branch of the National Academy of Sciences, brought out a report, To Err is Human, Build a Safer Health System. I would encourage all the participants here that you must read this document, because that will give you a brief overview and a more clarity all about. So patient safety today has become a discipline that emphasizes safety in healthcare, prevention, reduction, reporting, and analysis of error and other types of unnecessary harm that often lead to adverse effects. So the next question is, as we do not have data which is accurate in our country, but let us not be very critical. Let's quantum of patients who come. I think somebody has.
Excuse me, can you mute yourself, please? If you do not want to listen to what the seniors are talking, you may please leave. That is better than disturbing the entire, audience here. Please keep yourself muted. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. As Tangam very correctly said that there is no, definite data of how many errors occur in our country. But let's look at the flip side. Look at the quantum of our patients. Huge number of patients. But I think when we compare the errors in our country vis-a-vis the developing country where each doctor is not more than 10 patients, I think we are still better off. Not to say that it is not occurring, it does occur. So how have things changed from then to now? I think I would like to put this very briefly under 4 or 5 aspects. One is the human factor. Today in the health sector, we have variations in healthcare provider training and experiences, and that can be a challenge for patient safety. Our healthcare providers are fatigued and overburdened. There is burnout and depression. Also, our patients come from a very diverse background. Their settings are they come to a setting which is very unfamiliar, and the pressures of time pressures to fulfill our objectives for the day is so high that there can be chances for patient error. Also, the failure to acknowledge the prevalence and the seriousness of these medical errors is also one factor which can promote the number of patient error. Increasing number of work hours for nurses. In the army, we have a very poor nurse patient ratio. But at the same time, we do not have critically ill patients like you have in the corporate and the government, because our patients are expected to be healthy. We have a very, our soldiers are supposed to be very healthy. So at a given point of time in a ward, we may have 30 patients or 20 patients, but not all are critical. So when you look at those things and also the assistants, but still the nursing assistants who are available at the bedside, but still I would say that our nurse patient ratios are skewed on a higher side. So that can be a problem for the increasing incidences of patient safety. The medical complexity has changed the way our patients would feel safe. The complicated technology, the powerful drugs, and the newer drugs coming on the horizon, the complexity of the ICUs, the prolonged hospital stay can also be a problem in terms of reducing the preventable errors at the bedside. Also, system failure is also something which is inherent in this problem of patient safety. I would think that poor communication is one very important area where we have a lot of errors which are committed on a day-to-day basis. Unclear lines of authority amongst nurses, and already, as I mentioned, the poor nurse-patient ratio, disconnected reporting system within the hospital, and numerous handoffs. You have number of handoffs, at the patient's bedside. Rounds. The nurse has to go for a round with the doctor first, then a super specialist first, and then she has her own nursing round. So much of confusion in these handoffs, they can occur, which can again, lead to some kind of an error, which is not intention, but this does occur. Then drugs which are look alike and sound alike is something which we have to deal with in our day-to-day practice, which if we are not cautious, we can cause medication errors. So I think all these summed up, there are a lot of other factors also which have changed over a period of these last 40 years in the way we administer nursing care to our patients. So I think all this has definitely impacted the patient safety aspect, I think so. Tanga.
Thank you, ma'am. John. I think you have kind of touched upon all the subsections of patient safety, which we will be dealing with in the future months. And today we are actually looking at from a larger perspective. And one thing that ma'am John told, which I would like to reiterate, is that one of the things that we often fail to look at is the system failure. We tend to place the person responsible. I think in all the other countries and in India also, since the accreditation came, there is a focus on looking at the processes and the system rather than looking at the individual to improve the patient safety. So with that, thank you so much for both our panelists to set the context for today. So my next question is to Dr. Bimla Kapoor. So now we have talked generally about it. So now let me ask you, what's your opinion about the safety culture in our hospitals? I'm sure that you have been in and out of hospitals for various reasons. You must have been there, especially in the corporate sector. So what is your opinion about generally about the culture of safety in our hospitals? Ma'am, you are muted.
Sorry. Uh, I think if you look at the culture, the expected rate that we need to have adequate nurse patient ratio, which is really lacking, as Elizabeth told, that even in the government sector, army it is lacking, but in government sector it is lacking quite a lot. We were just discussing a couple of days back, and even in the premier hospitals right in Delhi, we have 5 to 6 nurses working for 45 to 50 patients in the morning hours, and we have 3 to 4 nurses working in the evening and night. So look at the nurse patient ratio, and look at the tasks which they have to do, which can lead into the errors and patient safety issues. The other biggest thing is that the facilities and the working condition. In the corporate sector also, we have better working conditions because of several reasons. But in the government, the working conditions are not at all good. Imagine that a basic thing to wash your hands, you have to walk down to at least 10 times to the duty room or to the nearby wash basin where there is no soap, and you carry it in your pocket, or you see that from where you get it. Even today, within the cubicle of 6 patients, in some of the hospitals, after 3 cubicles, there will be one wash basin. So that means the nurse needs to walk down. They know the procedure, they know how to do the patient safety, but the working conditions are not that comfortable, not those available. Imagine even this time when we are post COVID, I'm calling post COVID to be optimistic, you find that they do not have the alcohol hand rub available near the bedside. And I was just wanted to find out, practically what was happening in 2 large hospitals in Delhi. They said, ma'am, if the HODs are good, they will see that in one cubicle, one hand sanitizer bottle is available, but otherwise, no, it is not there. Also, development of protocol for patient safeties. I was asking from the government, from the nursing official in the government, that which protocol are you following? Are you following WHO protocol, or you are following the protocols developed by Government of India? Then she said that the protocol of Government of India are being developed based on WHO, being developed. Imagine the healthcare system is existing, patient errors are there since such a long time, patient safety questions are there, readmissions are there, but still we are in the process of developing. I asked the continuing nursing education departments of 2, 3 hospitals, and they said it should be finalized soon. So imagine the culture, how can you have the standardized things if some standards have to be, some protocols have to be there. Then implementation of universal safety protocols are not being given to people and not being managed because the basic facilities are not there, the workload is there, the patient load is so very high. The researches are being done, but the researchers are doing the research on plant teaching program or on clinical research is not there so much. So I mean, I have started advocating about the patient safety long back and said that all the people should do the clinical nursing research so that we are able to show the changes in the patient care as nursing professionals. We demand of having the Indian Council of Nursing Research, but are we able to show those kind of results to the government that because of my presence, because of my study, because of a shortage of people, the patient safety is being compromised? And that is where the cost of the hospital is going high, the cost to the government is going very high, and the cost to the individual is going very high. So the patient safety culture expected is that we should do this, and this. But we also need to see that these kind of standards are maintained. No, I'm not saying 100% you cannot have, but it is possible. These things are possible. But only thing is that we give importance to
Are you able to hear, ma'am? I think some connectivity issue. Others, can you hear Dr.
No, no.
Bimla Kapoor?
Let me talk.
No.
Oh, okay. So that means her side is the problem, not my side. No worries. I will call her, ma'am. I'll call her. Meanwhile, ma'am John, just to
Yeah,
save
yeah,
time,
uh,
I'm going to ask you the question that what has been your experience
yeah.
as a consumer of healthcare, not as a ex-army nurse or anything like that, but as a consumer of healthcare, what
Yeah.
has been your experience?
Yeah, I can tell you, I'll give you an example of my own, hospital. When my father was admitted in 2000, I lost him, in fact, in 2015. I'll give you a small example of an critical care setup in a very large referral hospital. My father was admitted with a head injury, total brain injury it was, and he was put on a ventilator. I'll give you an example of how equipments are ordered and they are not utilized because of lack of skill and lack of evidence-based practices. To prevent ventilatory assisted pneumonia, we have to do suction of the ET tubes. There are two types of suction, and these lot of closed methods of suctioning are available. Beautiful equipment. It's a concealed unit which was available in the ICU in huge number. And so I told my nurses that you use this, but the intensivist was not of the opinion. Then I had to, argue with him, and I said, no, there is evidence to show that this is a very good method. It will reduce the VAP infection. So I feel that at the bedside where the lacuna lies is, one, equipments are available. They are not utilized because of lack of skill. And if they are not utilized in the right manner, that can also impact your patient safety culture. The procurement of equipment in hospitals is done by somebody else, and the users are nurses. There's such a huge gap there that you calling the nurses to ask them or train them before this is planted at the bedside. So I think this is one of the factors which impacts the patient safety culture. I just gave you a small example how to encourage patient safety culture. When one area is equipment procurement, and that training the people who are using on that equipment to get the best desired outcomes in your patient care. If that is done, then that is one aspect you can reduce the patient safety problems. So as madam already has told, Madam Bimla, that there should be a safety culture in every hospital. There should be standardized protocols on the various aspects which are trained, and the nurses are trained in it before they are put on the ground, before a new nurse comes, is inducted. In the induction training, this has to be addressed properly. A pre-test and a post-test and a skill-based test should be performed, and she should be well equipped with these skills to minimize the errors at the bedside. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Bimla Kapoor, we lost you in between. Are you back? Ma'am, unmute yourself. Maybe you can wrap up what you were saying before we kind of lost you.
I think Elizabeth covered the point. Very important one was the inadequate equipment availability. And when the equipment is available, people are not trained to handle them. So with the result, you fiddle with it, you manage it, or you call technician to learn from them. So the training needs to be given to any equipment which is coming. So otherwise it is left in the store for months together and not utilized. Even the ventilators, I mean, we had to learn from technician how to use a ventilator. Dialysis machine, we had to learn from the technician, because there was no, when the machine comes, I mean, every health workers has to be put together to train, so that it is utilized timely. So I actually wanted to talk about equipment, which I heard Elizabeth was talking. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think what both our speakers are highlighting is that it's very important for nurses to assert also. When you are exposed to a new equipment, ask for training. In case you have not been given, usually my experience in corporate world was that any equipment comes, if a nurse has to use it, the trainings are done before they are even commissioned into the place. That is a good culture. But in case somebody has not done it, something new lands up, then as a nursing leader, I had to assert myself to ensure that it is not repeated, that without training no equipment is commissioned where nurses have to use the machines. So thank you so much for both of you. I'm going to bring up my last question as the next question, because Captain Usha Banerjee has already written that as a question. She's one of our senior EC members of ANI. So she says that my question is, why has patient safety not been embedded in the curriculum, or at least as a part of student life? There is so much happening in this space. Why can't we just make it happen? At least 5 critical components to be implemented across all institutions and hospitals straight away after this meet. So that is the question to both of you. So first, Ma'am Kapoor, and followed by Madam Joan, if you can handle that question. And meanwhile, I'm going to ask the audience, put it in the chat box. What do you think are these 5 critical components? It's getting recorded, so your answers can be then collated, and we will see how we have almost 130 people here. That's a good number. So if we can start typing while our panelists are answering this question, what are the 5 critical components that the nurses must learn before they come to the workplace? I mean, during their student period itself, that they should be very skilled at that 5 components. What would that be? You can put it in your chat box. So ma'am, the question is about, why has patient safety not been embedded in the curriculum, or at least as a part of student life? There is so much happening. Why can't we just make it happen?
Tangam, I will tell you that from first year onwards, the students are really trained about the patient safety. When we teach them the first procedure of bed making, leave aside the advanced procedures, we talk about all the applied sciences. We talk about application of microbiology, where we talk about hand washing, how to fold the sheet so that the dust does not, go on their face or to others in the environment, how to fold and keep it separate. And all those steps of principles of microbiologies are taught in depth. Even with the smallest procedure, what we teach, oral hygiene, any procedure you take, the procedures are elaborated with the scientific principle, with the safety, patient safety. The word patient safety may not be used repeatedly when we are teaching them, but the curriculum does have every procedure, every teaching which takes place, will have the component of safety by application of sciences. One is that we talk about principle of patient safety, in that principle of microbiology, principle of comfort of the patient, principle of comfort of the, all those 7 principles are talked about. First year is a time when the reception is not very good by the students. They are knowing what is nursing. They really do not know what they are going to be in their life. Second year is loaded with so much of so much of content that students are busy in learning. It is when they reach to the fourth year or third year and they start realizing, oh, they learned in first year about this, so they start applying those principles. So curriculum does have it. It also depends upon the teachers. I'm sorry to say that very past 10 years or 15 years, I'm not saying everywhere, but teachers themselves, they know that they have not visited the hospital, they have not done practicals, they have not even learned on simulation. So the students are not able to learn anything. There's nobody to role model and talk about that. Why are you rushing to wash your hands immediately after touching the patient? You imagine that for making one bed in a cubicle of 6 patients, we would tell the students to wash hand after making each bed. So, I mean, those facilities were not there, but still they ran to wash their hands because they were students. They could spend time. They did not have the total patient responsibility in the clinical area because the staff nurses would be there. So, to talk about that, the chapter of patient safety should start from the first year. Much of the responsibility lies on us as teachers. Much of the responsibility lies in the ward on the ward sisters to be the role models. Much of the responsibility lies on discussions that why the patient got the infection, why the patient had injection abscess. I remember if a student found that her patient had injection abscess, she would get so scared without knowing the reason. She would think that it is because of her not using proper sterilization technique and hand washing technique. The patient has developed the abscess. So to talk about in the curriculum, it has to be reinforced. Teachers, I think, need to be told time and again that please come back to the curriculum where we
Ma'am, you're muted.
yeah.
Ma'am, you are muted.
No, I got disconnected again actually.
Yeah, no, for a second.
So
For a second.
the teachers know it, but because of thinking of finishing up the topic within 45 minutes, they may miss this. But this cannot be allowed to miss. This is basic. This is basic for the patient care. So I think the curriculum has it, but the teachers need to be trained time and again, reminded time and again. We may think, oh, she's a 40, 60 years of experience, 40 years of experience, 30 years of experience, but you really need to go and visit the sites and learn more and more about the things which are happening, which is latest. I think coming for this session, Elizabeth and me, we would know we did little research to see that have we updated ourselves to talk to such a smart and important group. So as teachers, I would request all these schools and as role models, as staff nurses, as ward sisters, if on the way you have touched a patient and had an empathetic feeling, how are you feeling today? First thing is just go out, wash your hands, or take the alcoholic hand rub and clean it, so that all your juniors who are watching, they are able to make out that you are so careful about the patient safety and safety of yourself. So I think time and again I have made this statement that it is the way the curriculum is being handled, the way the students are being prepared, the way the teachers take them forward towards the patient safety, and all of us, we exist that patient is safe and goes out from the ward safe to his or her home, whether we are doctors, nurses, paramedics, whoever the team members are. So I think that essence is there. It's again the implementation process here. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, ma'am. I think that's a very, very relevant point. And I had been exclusively in education and training from 2012. and not in academics. It is actually working with professionals who are already into hospitals. So I always repeat this, that we have done infection control, for example, infection control pre-test for thousands of nurses, and the people who pass that test actually in single digit. And this is so-called people who are actually practicing to be nurses. So one, we have a problem of the curriculum itself. As you said, the curriculum is fine. I tend to agree with ma'am, the curriculum is fine. It is the delivery. I think if first year, if they have been told for every topic, the patient safety aspect can be easily incorporated
Yes.
without going through the entire thing of it. Talk about it day in and day out, because that's the only thing the nurse is supposed to take care, is to keep her patient safe. And if that focus is there, everything else falls in place. So with that, ma'am, John, what is your take on this? What do you
Uh,
think that we should be doing for our young nurses and already practicing nurses also?
Yeah. Tangam, I agree with 100% with Madam Bimla, whatever she said. You know, there is an old adage used, old wine in a new casket.
Okay.
We are actually already teaching them. Everything is there. The scientific principles are all beautifully embedded into the curriculum, into every nursing procedure. Sandhya and Usha are my students here who are in the, in your the executive members. They will remember what they learned in their first year. So all this is inbuilt in every nursing procedure that we teach. And there is a huge chapter on communication, by the way. In our nursing curriculum, there is communication as a chapter. In medical curriculum, it was not there.
Not there.
They have introduced that very, very recently. Nurses always had communication 30 hours. It is a subject and it is a, the examination they have to pass in the second year curriculum, which we had in our first year, something called repertoire recording. That means we will go to a patient and we'll say good morning. And patient safety means making the patient safe in the environment in which we are caring for them. Empathy, understanding, making them feel safe. So when I entered as a first year in a patient, near the patient, I would say, hello, Mr. So-and-so, good morning. I am here, I am so-and-so. As a young student, I have done that. Empathy, touch, therapeutic touch. And I have been taught that in my first year, how to approach a patient. So everything is inbuilt there, but now it is time, since everybody has coined an adage called, a terminology called patient safety. I think we can incorporate that patient safety as one of the scientific principles in every procedure that we teach them right from the first year to the fourth year in every subject, be it pediatrics, be it community health, be it obstetrics, be it med-surg. Every subject should have a component of patient safety term, amongst the scientific principles. That is very, very important. And that delivery of what you want the student to learn depends on me as a teacher. If I
Thank
have
you.
taught these concepts, my student will never forget that. So I think we can dedicate one of the scientific principles as a safety principle, patient safety principle. Hand washing technique is taught in medical and surgical asepsis, the steps of hand washing. Communication is taught. These terminologies which have come up in patient safety should be incorporated in nursing in every year, first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, so that their understanding becomes comprehensive and well integrated into their practice.
Yes.
Just
Thank
want to add, Tangam,
Yes, ma'am.
just want to add about the communication. In first year, there are a lot of role plays. The students are told to do it. Then they are told to talk about history of nursing in form of seminar. Then the students, after teacher has done one or two role plays, then they make the students to come and become the relative of the simulation patient. So the communication starts from the beginning only, and we don't tell them about SMCR model, but we tell them a bit about the these steps of communication. So I am again echoing what Elizabeth is saying, that the things are there. It's only that variation of teachers are there, but there should be some basic standards which each teacher need to follow. And there has to be mentoring and supervision by the senior teachers. There was a time when my senior could enter in any class of mine. There was a time I could enter in any of my teachers' class, whether they were senior or juniors. We learned from their classes, we learned from their way of helping the student to communicate and all that. So I think those models are to be revisited and added on so that the patient safety is emphasized again and again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am John, and thank you, Dr. Kapoor. I think we are getting some messages from others saying that, we should at least pick up 5 most important critical components and do something. So as president of Association of Nurse Executives India, this is a thought process that we are already having. We will come up with a way so that we can create some solutions on those 5 basic modules that we'll find a way of getting a consensus, and then we will create modules which can be used by teachers and hospital people, nurses, everyone. So that will be a action item from us, apart from having this monthly series, which will be always available for anyone to go back and look at and read. And today, so far, between the two veterans in nursing, they have touched all the aspects of patient safety. We have not taught anything in particular in this particular session, but I think in our audience we have lot many senior people without having an focused class or anything. I'm very sure they got a very good insight into what needs to be addressed when it comes to patient safety, starting from the very basic of basic principles to always thinking of keeping the patient safe all the time. So coming to that, ma'am, as a last question, it is just take about a minute maybe so that we can take some questions from the audience, because we are almost 12:52 now. So my question, so I think it is kind of already answered. So are we there in terms of nurse being sensitive towards the patient safety, being patient safety champion? So let me try to give some clarification to that question. So far we have already answered that we are not there. We are not yet training everyone. We do have problem with safety errors that is happening. So generally, being there in healthcare for such a long time, do you think that the focus of patient safety by all nurses, whether it is leaders, mid-level leaders, staff nurses, and the teachers, are we having that as an overarching theme of whatever that we are doing?
Sure.
Do you think the focus is there by senior people? Because when I'm training, am I keeping patient safety as the central of everything, not the curriculum? What we are doing, the curriculum, we have agreed that it has everything. The implementation or execution, are we executing it with that rigor with which we should be focusing on patient safety?
I think,
Yes.
Tangam, if you look at the past few months, say 2020, which is example in front of us, the nurses, they really, I think,
Ma'am, connectivity is a problem. Ma'am, go ahead. Ma'am John, please. She's
problem.
back. Go, 1 second, you go and then you come back. Okay.
So imagine that this was the first time I heard that some of the nurses came out on the road to say that they need PPE kit, not only for themselves, but for the patients.
Mm.
See, right in the center in Delhi, because I think they were so concerned about the patient safety, their own safety, and safety of the community, because they were to go back home and they did not want to carry infection to the neighbors, to their family members, to the children. So I think, imagine that they were champion in advocating about it, that how important it is that we are safe and others are safe, so they wanted that the community is safe if they are safe. If they are getting infection, they will definitely give infection to others. And if they are visiting a room without the PPE kit to the particular patient with infection, it will lead the infection to the other patients also and to the other community people. So I think, imagine they avoided visiting their families. What does it speak about? It speaks about the infection control. I think many of us as senior nursing professionals, when we went to the clinical area, when we came back home, we really removed all the clothes, took bath, and then went and touched the home people or took care of our children, So the patient safety, the nurses are the one who actually are able to communicate effectively that how important it is that we need to avoid visiting people, we need to avoid leaving people, leave the people alone, and let us use the PPE so that we don't get infection and give infection to others. Now imagine many of them, they went for self quarantine. Nobody asked them, but they went for self quarantine. Now these are some of the things which remind us that they are aware of it. They know it can be, patient safety is important, community safety is important, but how much support they require is the question, is a big question, whether it is from the corporate or private sector or from the government sector, both. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So it kind of, you are trying to allude is that it is there. The
Yes.
focus when needed is there. When needed, it is there. So probably we need to capitalize on that awareness which is there, and make it into a full-blown fire for patient safety. Ma'am, John, what do you think? That is your last answer for the day.
Yeah, what I'd like to say is in all the hospitals, whether it is government or corporate or mission or any nature of the hospital, irrespective, when we take in new staff, we should have a proper policy of educating this nurse as per our hospital protocols. And the patient safety should be a protocol and it should be given its due attention when new nurses come into the hospitals. Train them, skill them, reskilling of those who are already in the hospital should be part of this patient safety protocol. I think as any, this thing should be instituted in most of your hospitals which are under you. Let it be as a action statement for you that it will be built in, and reskilling should be done. It is, unless we reskill them, they will again, there will be a tendency not to, to continue in our old ways of patient safety. So I feel that aspect has to be taken care by the nurses who are heading as directors of the hospitals, whether they are in mission or private or corporate hospitals, which I think many corporate hospitals are doing it, but let it be taken as an action point forward and institute that in their continuing nursing education for new inductees and also for those who are in-house.
Thank you, ma'am. The point is right, and I had been heading corporate hospitals till 2012. So many hospitals, as you said, they have a good induction program. So what my challenge was when I was heading hospital was that I used to feel sad. The 4 years that they learned nursing is wasted. I have to teach them all over again. And it takes about 8 months for them to become patient ready, which I think is not very smart. As a nursing administrator, it is not that smart to be spending that. So if they haven't learned anything for 4 years, they haven't had the focus, then their induction program for 1 month will make very little difference. So I think with all that is said is that we are agreeing the education need to do their part, And when they come to the hospital, we again orient them. Induction program is mandatory. It is very important. We cannot get any nurse. I mean, we induct even the experienced nurses, not only the fresh nurses. So everybody gets the same induction, so that all the nurses, they come to a certain level, they understand the policies and procedures of the hospital. I think that is pretty much in place in almost all the corporate hospitals. But point taken, ma'am, is that maybe there are hospitals where this may not be happening. Maybe they say yes, but then the induction could be cut short or not held because of other reasons. So this particular solution that we are planning to create will be available not only to the schools and colleges, but also to the hospitals. So that is something that they can start with. And Annie is a platform where nursing leaders, if they need any kind of help, they can always approach us. Between so many senior members of the Annie, I am sure that we can help them with content or with training or whatever that is required. We can always reach out to them. So Annie is committing to work with any nursing head who might need help from us. So we can always support that. Any academics who want to work with us, and in our members itself, we have esteemed senior people from academics and services. We will sure that we get both the teams together and we come up with this five basic modules to start with, and then we will build more on that. So that is our commitment, Ma'am John and Dr. Kapoor, and thank you so much. And we are just at 12, we are, closing, we are right on time, and we haven't had any questions so far. And it was Captain Usha I have already written, but there are some feedbacks on what we should be doing. So that is there. So I would say thank you so much. And I was little skeptical whether we will really wrap it up in 1 hour time. And on the same link, we are going to continue with the Karnataka chapter launch. So Annie is very busy today. So soon after this is the Karnataka chapter launch. So I would say a very big thank you to all of you. Just in case anybody has any pressing question to ask any one of us, you can unmute yourself and ask. I can take one question. One question, one comment. Please go ahead. Anyone? Amita is already on the video. Do you want to say something, Amita?
She's muted.
Usha is also there. Usha has got a lot of people at the back.
Yeah, Tangam, thank you so much. Thanks, Ma'am Bimla, and thanks to Madam E. John, stalwarts in the nursing profession. I'm sorry, I'm running from one room to another. I'm at a workstation right now. Hence, I could not commit, but I have attended the entire session. Wonderfully done, Tangam, as usual, a great moderator. I just have this comment that, it's many, many decades now. I'm also 3 decades into the profession, and we have been gloating about the fact that everything is there in our curriculum. Trust me, I'm end user of products that come out of institutions. And as you know, I probably hire the highest number of nurses every month. I could get into a Guinness record right away, right? Let me tell you, the basics of hand hygiene is not known to the generation of today. And I don't hire from CMC, RAK, Armed Forces. We have to prepare institutions from where we recruit people and those who impact patient service. I think Madam Ejon has rightly said that this old wine has to be served in a new package. There's no way that we can talk about it. I know it's there. I know these are my teachers. They've taught us, we still practice, but the generation is different. The teachers are different. The institution is different. The healthcare scenario is different. And I think we have to repackage the entire thing. And hand hygiene is something, if we focus on, to start with the WHO 5 moments of hand hygiene, which won't take any big impact to make long processed modules. We can roll it out ASAP, and that should be done. And that's the commitment everybody takes home right straight away, that I will make hand hygiene happen. Apollo Delhi holds a Guinness World Record for hand hygiene. I think that's the kind of spirit we must carry it. And that's why we had no issues when we had COVID coming here. So I think great start for us. And I think patient safety is apt because it's accreditation, it's patient need, it is tangible, outcomes can be delivered in a short span of time. So let's go back with this. I think it's a brilliant idea to come together, and nothing like the top of the team kick-starting this entire episode. Lovely. I just enjoyed. I did not even move a bit from this entire meeting. So looking forward to more sessions, and let's make it happen. And we have to make it happen in the last institution of the country. Only then we would succeed. And then take feedback from people like us that if these institutions have embedded this into their patients' life through the nurses' curriculum, then we arrive. Thank you so much. That's it from me.
Thank you, Usha. Thank you so much. As passionate as you find, Usha, at any point of time, and we are in it together. So whoever wants to be with us in this journey of creating impactful and influential solutions, so that everybody can use it, so they don't have to worry about it. And I think enough food for thought for all of us. And I would say I thank each and everyone. We are standing with 145 people here, and I'm sure that on the Facebook there are many more, watching this. And this is already recorded. And I am hoping that I would say this particular one, and I would say, so you can see on the screen, we will see you in February with another topic. And going forward, it is not going to be an overview, it will be actually addressing a particular domain in depth, so that the modality of delivery could be slightly different, could be a question answer, or could be a proper masterclass. So we'll come to that, and we'll try to bring the best of facilitators into these topics, and those will be recorded and available. So that will be available as a gift from Annie. So with a promise that let's all learn how to better focus on delivering safer care, I would say thank you so much. You all have a fantastic day today. And this is the same link for Karnataka launch. All of you are welcome to stay back in the same link. If you're interested to know what is Annie, because there we will be actually explaining what is Annie is all about also. And those who have only come for this particular session, patient safety, you may leave, not a problem. Lovely having you all here, and you have a great weekend, and we will see you again in February. With that, I'm going to stop the share, and also I will stop recording because this session is over, and we will see you next month in February. So thank you, take care, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am John.
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you, Tangam.
Dr. Bimla Kapoor, thank you so much. You have kick-started a major thing that Annie is going to do in this year.
Pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Blessings from